But
What's up, disciple?
sorry, I had YouTube play. My YouTube came on. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Hey, doing all right, brother. Which religion are you? Are you Jewish?
Born Jewish, then became a Christian like 2 years ago,
Oh,
maybe.
sweet. Interesting. I'm curious about that,
But went
but
through atheism, went through Buddhism, went through New Ageism, all this stuff, and
very
then
interesting.
yeah,
Okay. Interesting. That's very interesting. I don't think I've ever heard someone do that one. Yeah, you're over the age of 18, I'm supposing, right?
yeah, way
All
over
right.
36,
And then Christian. Cool. Why
37
should I
now.
be?
I mean, I would say, could we start like kind of before Christian? Can we just talk about God in general before we go to Christian?
Sure.
I think it's like more. I think it's more practical to talk about is there a God before we say which God is true, right?
Yeah, that's valid.
So for me, I think it's grounded in. Um, I believe that logic and rationale are actually real things that exist, and I believe that materialism can't produce something immaterial, which like logic and reason is immaterial, right? We would agree.
Sure.
Like we the awareness of them would be immaterial.
Are you an empiricist?
Mm,
You're a
well,
materialist.
I think that no, I'm not a materialist. I'm saying these things are immaterial. Logic and reason are immaterial, right? Like there's the only
Okay, I see.
awareness of them is in the mind, right?
So they're grounded in axioms, like two things being next to two things is four things. We made up the concept of two plus two, though. So they are actually real, tangible things we can demonstrate in reality. Same for
Yeah,
logic.
we can look at reality and empirically use our logic and reason to make sense of the things, and like we can use the laws of not the laws of logic, right? The laws of non contradiction,
Yeah.
excluded middle, all these things. We can use these things to make rational and logical
I do
statements.
agree
And
that they're
I
not
would
material. I do agree with that, but
Yeah, they're immaterial and they only exist in a mind, right? It takes a mind in order to organize these things. And so for me, when I look at the universe and I believe that my reason and logic is dependable, then I would come to the conclusion that logic and reason has to exist somewhere. And since reality reflects that it's logical and reasonable, that there would have to be a mind that created logic and reason for it to exist
are you talking
truly in
immaterialism
reality.
by Berkeley?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not like a major philo bro, so I wouldn't know
Are you
if
saying
that's
that all things are mind dependent, therefore there must be a first mind?
yeah, basically.
Okay, yeah, so this is like incredibly fallacious. It was coined by Berkeley, immaterialism, that all things are immaterial. No, that's not even close to true. The universe is
All things are
tangible.
immaterial. I wouldn't say all things are immaterial.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we live in a material universe. The reason that
Yeah, I
logic is a
agree.
concept is because it just helps us know if we're thinking correctly in accordance with reality. So the thing about logic that is material is it must adhere to reality,
I agree.
of which God does not.
Why so?
Well, every single thing about him, triomny or not triomny, Trinity, for instance, that's completely
But we're not
illogical.
even talking about that yet. We're not even talking. We're talking about God's existence.
Yeah, God
We're not
outside
talking
of
about
space time breaks
Christian.
the laws of physics and logic. God all powerful breaks the laws of logic. It's a paradox. Triomny is a paradox in
But
and
you're
of
saying you're
itself.
saying because you're saying God exists outside of the material. It's not logical.
Well, no, it's the things about it. So, for instance, if he exists outside of space time, right, you cannot have
Hmm.
cause and effect without time. Cause is a place in time, and effect is a future point in time. So, without time, you can't even have causal relation. Therefore, that God cannot have created anything, let alone think. So, it's
Because God,
illogical to believe
because
that.
so it's illogical to believe that if metaphysically God is atemporal, it's illogical for you to believe that that
Yeah,
exists
yeah.
because you believe everything has to be pure. Well, what would be your logical syllogism for that? Why is that?
Let's see. Let's see. Trying to think of how to do this without begging the question. Here, let me get my
Yeah, because
notepad
it kind
out.
of sounds like you're kind of just like talking about that as if it were
Well,
granted
I
that
can do it
God can't
without
exist
a
out of immaterial
syllogism.
reality.
How do you have cause and effect without time?
Well, yeah, because God would have to exist outside of time.
No,
He
without
would have to
time, how
start
do
time.
you have cause and effect?
Well, cause and effect is only started once he starts time, right? Like
Well, that's
you
a
couldn't.
claim, but
So
without time. So that means if he has not created it, there is no time. Therefore, without time, he is having causal relation. How is this possible?
how is it possible? Well, I would say that nothing could be moved without a first mover. So how is so we have
Mm,
cause and effect, right?
to a
We
degree,
have
I
cause and
agree with that
effect.
first claim, but here's the thing with the full actual law: things in motion stay in motion, things not in
Hmm.
motion stay not in motion. Okay, so the universe's default state is motion. It doesn't require an external force to put it into motion because it's already in motion. It would require an external force to stop it from being in motion.
Well, again, you're begging the question that
No, I'm not.
it was already in motion.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you're just making
All
the
evidence
assumption that it was
justifies that
always in
it's in
motion.
motion, and there's no evidence that something put it in motion.
I mean, what's the evidence that before, for example, the Big Bang, what was the motion that was occurring before?
It was in a hot, dense state of energy, and energy can't be created. That's the first law of thermodynamics. Why would I believe that it was created?
But then you're just assuming that energy was always there.
Yeah, because energy can't be created. Energy exists, therefore it's always existed. That's a logically sound argument for that.
Uh, you're saying energy cannot be created or destroyed, but we're talking about the energy that already exists,
Yeah, energy
right?
cannot
So,
be created,
for
and it
example,
exists, therefore it always existed, because it cannot be created and it does exist.
okay, so what started the motion of the universe? It was always in
Nothing. It was
motion,
energy is always
is
in
what you're
motion.
saying.
Yeah. Energy
Okay,
fields
but why
are
would,
motion.
how would we, like, when we look at the universe and we see that it's going towards entropy, right? Everything's losing its energy, right?
No, energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Well, all the
Entropy is
kinetic
about
energy
like
is turning back
chaos.
into, well, yeah, eventually everything becomes chaotic, and then we
Well,
assume that the
yeah,
universe
us
is going to
having
end
a
in a
kid
major heat
adds
death,
to
right?
entropy.
Yeah,
Uh,
right, because we're converting energy into another state.
Right, but we're just adding also more positions of a set.
Hmm. So then, so your position on what's the first mover then?
There
There is no
doesn't need to
mover.
be. Why does there need to be one if it's already in motion?
So then, what was it that predated the Big Bang that created?
Why does there
You're
need to
just
be
saying
anything?
everything. Well, I would assume that if we had a large explosion of potential energy
There
that turned
wasn't an
kinetic that
explosion.
created our universe. So you don't agree with the expansion of the universe?
Yeah, the expansion is not an explosion. Those are two different words.
But that's how we assumed that everything was
Incorrect.
so dense that I thought that was the modern science take,
Mm-mm.
was that
No.
everything was like all matter was concentrated into one
Yep.
dense point, and
And then it
then
expanded 13.8 billion years ago. And we know this to be a fact thanks to CMB radiation. We
yeah,
have
we know
evidence
this to
for
be a
it.
fact.
So everything I
Yeah,
believe is due to justified evidence beyond reasonable doubt. And there is no evidence to justify why we should believe that the universe had to have been put there.
but then what would be the actionable? What would be the cause that created
Dark energy
everything to
expanded the
go?
universe. Energy, energy, energy. Everything goes back to energy. 100% of all of it comes back to energy. And energy can't be created. So unless you're able to prove the first law of thermodynamics false, there's no justification to believe a God did it.
So the material universe, what caused the material universe to come into existence?
Matter
It always
emerges from
was. That's your
energy.
take. Okay, that's not the answer, but what caused the material universe to come into existence and put it into
It's always
motion?
existed, brother.
But there has to be an initial cause, right?
No, there doesn't, because energy cannot
So
be
there's
created.
no because energy cannot be created. There's
Brother,
no
if I did
cause.
this to your belief, the amount of special pleading that would be required. So for instance, if I ask you what caused God, because all things require a cause, you're going to run to, well, he's all powerful, he doesn't need to be created, he is the first cause. And I'm saying that this is the first cause, but you're incapable of comprehending that, but you can comprehend a magical unicorn being a first cause. The first cause is energy, dude. Energy can't be created. It is the first cause. God is not even, there's no evidence justifying it exists in the first place. We know energy exists. We know energy can't be created. So what
Where
are you
did
having a
energy
hard
come
time with?
from?
Dude, I
I don't
just
understand
answered
where
that
energy
30
came from.
times. What did I say?
So energy just exists. It is. So it's just.
It always
It's
existed.
almost
It
like
cannot
it
be
almost
created.
is
The
like a
universe
special
is
pleading.
energy. No, it's
But
not.
that is a special
No,
pleading.
it's not. Special pleading means all things adhere to these laws except for my thing. Your God is special pleading. Energy cannot be created. It is agreeing with the laws of physics. The universe is energy. Without energy, we wouldn't even be able to observe and ask these questions.
I don't know. It just sounds like special pleading to me. That
Dude,
just
it's not.
I don't.
Literally, by definition,
Okay,
it is
I'm
not.
just. Can I finish? Okay, I understand what you're saying,
You're
but
saying a
I guess we're kind of.
fallacy.
Well, I think we're both. I think we're both kind of. I don't know. I don't understand a universe that could put itself
Well,
into
here,
motion
it
the way that it
didn't.
does. Okay, so then what created the universe? Just energy.
No, it wasn't created.
Okay, but that's just a claim.
The hot dense state of energy is the universe. It expanded thanks to energy. Energy cannot be created, it has always existed. This has so much evidence for it, and your God has none. What is so
Well, I think
hard to
that's. I think
understand?
that's. I think it's theoretical because if you're
It's
talking
not
about before the.
theoretical. What is theoretical about the
You
first
can't
law
let
of
me finish a sentence, my
thermodynamics?
friend.
Because you
Dude,
said something
when you,
incorrect.
I wasn't even able to finish
You
my
said it's
sentence.
theoretical. That's false.
But so theorizing. So when we make claims about before the observable universe and what was going on before that, it's not theoretical, is your claim?
What existed, if anything existed before the hot dense state? My answer is I don't know. But to assume that anything had to exist before the hot dense state in and of itself is presupposing. There's no evidence to justify that. What we do know is energy cannot be created. Energy exists, therefore it's always existed. So why should I believe that a God made it?
Okay. What's the evidence for the hot density?
CMB radiation. What's the evidence for God?
Sorry, I was getting a call. What can you say it again?
Yeah,
What is your evidence
CMB
for the hot?
radiation. What's the evidence for God?
I have to drop. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good one. Ah, he was so close.